Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So Bhagavad was wanting to do a memorization verse. So we can do 926. It's a very famous one. So yeah. Goes like this. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Let's do it again. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. So the song goes like this. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, oh, I will accept it. I will accept it. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, oh, I will accept it. Yeah, I will accept it. Woo. Okay, very good. So we're going forward again to chapter 10, the opulences of the Absolute, starting from text 23. Yeah, 10:23. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vitesho Yaksharakshasham Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Merushikarinam Aham.
Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth. Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am Fire Agni. And of mountains, I am Meru. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe, the leader of the Yakshasa and Rakshasas is Kuvera, the master treasure of the demigods, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources.
Sure. Yeah, so yesterday we were talking about how Krishna's saying that he can be understood within this world by knowing what's the best of all things, like in all categories of things. That thing which is the best, or that person who is the best of the bunch, that person represents Krishna because he's the best of everything. He's the supreme person. So yeah, the person out of all the Rudras, Lord Shiva is the best, so Lord Shiva represents Krishna. Out of all the Yakshas and Rakshasas, Kuvera is the leader, and so he represents Krishna, etc. Like that. Yeah, like a mountain, out of all the different mountains, Mount Meru is particularly famous for being full of gems and minerals. Yeah. Okay, text 24. Puro dasam chamukyam mam vidhi parta brihaspatim senaninam aham skanda sadasam asmi sagaraha. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest, And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. So we can always remember that whenever we go to the ocean, whenever we go to the beach and we're looking out over the very vast ocean, we can think, out of all bodies of water, this is Krishna. The ocean is Krishna, because it's the biggest and the deepest and the best, most powerful.
Shelter of millions of species embracing like the ocean.
Yeah,
with
yeah, millions of species are taking shelter of the ocean. Also, ocean is like the arrangement in this on this planet for storing water, right? Because the sun evaporates water from the ocean, and then it goes up as pure water vapor, and then it condenses in the clouds and comes back down as fresh water rain that we can drink, that we can use, that waters the fields and the forests and makes everything grow and gives life to all living entities. And then whatever is not used, then that goes running down into the rivers, and then the rivers flow to the sea, and then it stays stored up in the sea there, and the sea is salty, so that preserves the water, and it's always moving. So, like water that's stagnant, it gets bad. But if you add some salt, then it doesn't become full of, fungus and different bacteria and things can't grow in salt water. So this salt is a preservative. So it preserves the water and keeps it there nicely. And gradually it evaporates and gets recycled into fresh water whenever we need. That's Krishna's arrangement for supplying the world with water. That's called the water cycle. Okay, so next verse 25. Maharshinam Brigur Aham Giram Asmyekam Aksharam Yagyanam Japa Yagyosmi Stavaranam Himalaya. Go ahead, Bhakti.
Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa, and of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several suns for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these suns, Brigu is the most powerful sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, Om, Omkara, represents Krishna. Of all sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare
is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the worlds is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in the previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru.
Nice. Yeah, so Krishna is saying here that out of all the sacrifices that you could possibly do, the best sacrifice is chanting Hare Krishna, chanting your japa. He specifically says japa yagyo. Yagyanam, out of all yagyas, japa yagyo asmi. I am the japa yagya. I am the sacrifice of chanting japa, Hare Krishna mantra. And out of all the mantras, the Hare Krishna mantra is the best, and that's why it's called the Maha Mantra. So the Mahayagya is chanting, and the Maha Mantra is the best mantra to be chanted. Okay, so that's why, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us this highest thing. Srila Prabhupada emphasized japa, right? Like there's so many services that can be done. There's, kirtan and reading Bhagavad Gita and dressing the deities and cooking and garlands and so many things that we can do. But out of all those services, the one service that we take a vow to do every day without fail for the rest of our lives is japa, right? We don't take any vow to do kirtan, to go see the deities, to read some scripture or anything else. But we take the vow to chant japa. So because that's the highest yagya, that's the best form of service, sacrifice. Okay, that's what Krishna's saying. He's saying that's him. He's saying, I am that. Sarva Vrikshanam Devarshinam Chanarada Gandharvanam Chitrarata Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitrarath, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Purport. The banyan tree, Ashvata, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitrarath. Amongst the perfect living entities, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, is a representative of Krishna. He is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. So yeah, of all the trees, the banyan tree is the best tree, and it's a sacred tree. Even in Nectar Devotion, it's mentioned that one of the items of devotional service is to worship the banyan tree. But then Prabhupada comments that we worship the Tulsi tree instead, because Tulsi tree is, banyan tree tends to be associated more with Lord Shiva. Right? Like whenever you see banyan tree in India, there's usually like some Shiva linga or some like picture of Lord Shiva or something, related to Lord Shiva there with the banyan tree. So, of course, Lord Shiva is also a great personality and a great devotee of Krishna, so that's fine. But just to be very focused and specific on Krishna, then Prabhupada taught us to worship Tulsi Devi. Because Tulsi Devi is always on the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna, and she's also Vrinda Devi, who is a servant in the Braj Leela, a very important assistant to Srimati Radharani and Krishna in Braj Leela. So, yeah. And then out of all the sages, we have Narada. Narada Muni is the best of all sages. And that's why you see, like, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni appears again and again, right? He's always coming up in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. It's out of all the Puranas. And in the different Puranas, you'll see different sages appearing and speaking and having different activities and pastimes and things. But the only Purana that's completely without any flaw, it's completely pure, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, the main sage is Narada Muni. So, and he's actually a Shakti-Avesh avatar of the Lord, and he's empowered, like all the different Shakti-Avesh avatars, they're empowered with a different Shakti, right? So whatever Shakti they're empowered with, they become known like that. Like the Kumaras are Jnana Shakti. They're empowered with transcendental knowledge. And then Prithu Maharaj is empowered with, forgot what it's called, but it's the Shakti for ruling, like for being the king and ruling over the citizens. He's empowered with that Shakti to be the ideal king. And but Narada Muni is empowered with Bhakti Shakti. So that's very special because that's the greatest thing of all the things to be empowered with. Bhakti is the best because Bhakti is the way to know Krishna, right? Krishna says later in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti mam abhijananti yavan yash chashmitatvataha. He says that only by Bhakti can I be known. And in fact, Krishna becomes controlled by Bhakti. By Bhakti, one can conquer Krishna. So Bhakti is the highest thing, best thing, most pure thing most pleasing to Krishna, and Narada Muni is empowered with Bhakti Shakti. So he is the best of all the sages, of all the empowered beings in this universe. So Narada Muni represents Krishna. Yeah, I wanted to say too, in relation to the last verse, the Himalayas. So Krishna says, of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. And yeah, the Himalayas are very beautiful, like the highest the highest mountains in this world, on this planet, and also the most beautiful, if you look at the most breathtaking mountains are the Himalayas. And then there's so much history, so much sacred history related to the Himalayas, that different sages go there. Krishna goes there. Uddhava goes there, and Hanuman goes there, and yeah, so many great personalities and incarnations of the Lord go to the Himalayas and spend significant time in the Himalayas. Actually, Krishna, I don't think. Krishna doesn't go there. Krishna doesn't go there.
Oh, we have Narayana.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of Narayana Rishi. So in his incarnation of Narayana Rishi, he resides there in the Himalayas. Yeah. But yeah, my experience also of hiking in the Himalayas. Yeah, I spent 1 month in the Himalayas way back, just before I became a devotee, and that was literally like why I became a devotee, was because of the association with the Himalayas. Because I was in the Himalayas that I was able to really have a lot of very deep realizations of God and about life and my purpose, my identity, and my purpose in this world. And so when I came down from the Himalayas, I was like, that's it. I have to be a devotee. There's nothing else to do in this life except devote myself to the service of God. So yeah, I don't know how, but just hiking in the Himalayas, that that very firm conviction came to me. And I think it's because, one, that the Himalayas are a representative of Krishna, so they can speak to you. And two, like I said, so many great personalities went to the Himalayas to perform, penances and austerities and meditation. And actually, it was in the Himalayas that Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And he did his meditation there in Badrik Ashram, Badrinath. It's in the Himalayas. So yeah, there's a lot of what makes a place sacred is that many great devotees live there. Sages and devotees live there. So Himalayas were always a refuge for sages. Whenever they just wanted to get away from worldly life in India, they would head north, right? That was the tradition. Head north, and you go to the mountains, you find some cave, do your meditation there. So I'm not sure what the Himalayas are like these days. Also, when I was hiking in the Himalayas, there's some peaks. You see all these like series of peaks, and some peaks you can go to. But I remember I was with this guide, and he was Nepali young man. He was from the Sherpa clan, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So they're mountain people. They come from generations of mountain people, and their bodies are even like physiologically adjusted to living at high altitudes. Like they can do very well with very little oxygen. And they have, like you see, they have very broad chests. They have like big lungs, and their lungs are like super efficient. Maybe they have like extra red blood cells or something that compared to most people. But everybody else is like getting faint and everything, and they're just like carrying the bags and walking up the mountain and doing fine. So they have a lot of experience of the mountains, having grown up there and having, grown up hearing all the mountain lore that's passed down from the generations. And so, that Sherpa, he would point out, I'd say, oh, that mountain peak there is so beautiful. He said, yeah, but no one can go there. I said, why not? He said, because there's some great personality living there, and if you go, no one can go there. If you get to a certain point, anybody who tries to go there, they can get to a certain point, and then they will fall. Something will happen. Wind will come and blow them off the peak, and they'll go fall to their death or something like that. So he said he doesn't know if it's like a yaksha or it's a demigod or some great personality that's greater than human beings, he said, lives in that place, and no one can go there.
Who are yakshas?
Yakshas are some beings from like higher planets, from Bhuvar Loka, and they Yeah, they're mentioned here.
Yeah, yakshas and rakshasas, they say.
So the yakshas, they're like they're beings that they have higher powers than human beings. Um, the thing is that, yeah, and they're very closely connected with Kuvera, so they tend to be they're protectors of wealth. Like Kuvera is the demigod in charge of wealth, like the treasurer of the demigods, and so the yakshas are his servants, and so they're protectors of wealth. And so they sometimes entice humans with wealth, but they always trick the humans. They like to play some tricks on humans. They like to make human beings become greedy for wealth and then teach them lessons about, not being attached to mundane wealth. Anyways, yeah, the yakshas they're a little tricky.
And Gandharvas.
Gandharvas they're among the demigods, they're the singers. Yeah, like a Gandharva. Even Srimati Radharani is called Gandharvika sometimes, like when her singing is being praised, her beautiful singing voice is being praised, then they'll call her Gandharvika. So, all right, text 27. Uchai Shravasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amritodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Cha Naradipam. Go ahead.
Of horses know me to be Uchisharva, produced during the churning of the ocean of for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am Airavat, and among men I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons Asuras once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchisharva. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavat. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representation of Krishna because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. And the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Ram were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, it is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings.
Yeah, so Krishna is referring to, Srila Prabhupada is referring to this episode that happens in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, where the demons and the demigods, well, demons and the demigods in the higher planets are always fighting with each other. They're always competing with each other for power and positions, and for rulership of different heavenly planets. So when the demigods have rulership of the heavenly planets, then the demons are trying to attack them and defeat them and drive them out of their positions and usurp the control of the heavenly planets. And sometimes they're successful. And then the demigods, they go to the Lord and they appeal to him, "Oh, help us, the demons have defeated us, what are we going to do?" So then on one particular occasion, Lord Vishnu told them, said, "Okay, so you need to go to the demons and you need to make a pact with them that we're going to work together. We're going to, press pause on our animosity towards each other. We're going to cooperate because we're going to churn the ocean of milk. And when we churn this ocean, then we're going to get nectar, and that nectar is going to give us immortality." So, and Lord Vishnu gave them very specific directions on how to do this churning. He said, you have to get this giant serpent, a Vasuki, big snake, and he's going to be the rope, the churning rope. And then the churning rod is going to be Mount Meru that we just heard about. So you have to get Mount Meru and you have to carry it over to the ocean of milk. right? We saw that although the Himalayas are immovable, sometimes Mount Meru is movable. So Mount Meru is a mountain that if you're very strong, you can pick up and move. So he said you need to go there, pick up Mount Meru, turn it upside down so the pointy part is down, and then you take Vasuki and wrap him around the mountain, and then put the demons on one end, the demigods on the other, and you pull like this, and then you're twisting the mountain. Mountain is going this way, going that way like a blender, and it's churning up the ocean. And then just like when you if you churn cream for long enough, then you get something happens, it separates, it becomes butter and water and like that, butter and buttermilk. So he said that by churning the ocean of milk, then you're going to get this nectar of immortality, and when you drink it, then you'll never be defeated. So the demigods proposed to the demons that let's work together. When the nectar comes, we can all drink it and we'll all be immortal. Of course, the demons were thinking, these foolish demigods, we're going to help them, and when the nectar comes, we're going to take it and drink it all ourselves, and then we're going to kill them and we're going to live forever in their planets. That was the demons thinking. So they agreed, and then but the Lord said that before the nectar will be the last thing that comes out. Before the nectar comes, there's going to come poison. When the poison comes, you need to call Lord Shiva, and he's going to drink it. And he's going to neutralize it by the power of his purity of his body. And then after the poison, then keep churning, and many things are going to come out. So one thing that came out was this horse, Uchai Shriva, and another thing that came out was Airavata, this very beautiful white elephant. And so when things came out, they were claimed. Sometimes the demigods would claim things, sometimes the demons would claim things. And Lord Vishnu told the demigods, if the demons want something, you just let them have it, right? So the demons were saying, oh, I want that, and the demigods are just like, all right, have it, no problem. We're just going to focus on the nectar. We're not going to be distracted by these things. But just a few things that the demons weren't interested in, the demigods took, like Airavata. Also, even Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, came out of that churning.
Yeah.
And the demigods, when they saw her, they wanted her, but she wouldn't have them. She didn't even look at them. They were all like trying to get her, and she just kept on walking, and she walked over to Lord Vishnu.
Rakshasas not ask for anything like Airavat and Lakshmi.
They asked for plenty of things, but not Airavata and Lakshmi. They wanted, but they couldn't have. But they got a lot of things. And then finally the nectar came, and then yeah. So the demons snatched it, and they were just going to keep it. But then Krishna said, oh no, this can't happen. The demigods need to get the nectar, not the demons. So then he appeared in a female form as Mohini Murti. And then she was so beautiful because Krishna is all attractive, so what to speak of when he takes a female form. So then she stood before the demons, and the demons all were just like, oh my God, this person is so beautiful. They just all immediately fell in love with her and became like dancing dogs in her hands. And then she said, oh, you handsome demons, you're so fortunate and so blessed with this nectar. But why don't you just give it to me? And they're like, oh, anything for you, most beautiful lady. So they just handed it over to her. And then she gave it to the demigods. Only Rahu got a little bit in his head, but then Krishna chopped his head off before he had a chance to swallow it. Anyway, so that was a whole huge episode that happened in the heavenly planets, narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's where this horse and also Airavata came from. And then Prabhupada talks about the king. Says that of men, I am the monarch. So of Narana means of human beings. So out of all human beings, generally the most exalted human being is the king. And at that time, like in bygone ages, they would have one king who was the king of the entire planet. He was like the emperor of the planet. And so, yeah, this is still at this time when Krishna is speaking. They're on the battle of Kurukshetra, and this battle is being fought because over who's going to be the king of the earth, right? Because the rightful king is Yudhisthira, but Duryodhana is trying to claim it for himself. So this battle has to happen because Krishna doesn't want Duryodhana to be king, because Duryodhana is a demon, and he doesn't want that a bad person is the king of the whole planet. Otherwise, things are going to become corrupt and terrible. So Krishna is urging Arjuna to fight so that he can win with the blessings of Krishna, and that his older brother Yudhisthira can become the can become the monarch. So it's nice too that, it makes sense when Krishna is telling Arjuna on this particular battlefield that among human beings, I am the king. So he's saying, in other words, the king has to be my representative. In other words, the king has to be a devotee, because who can represent Krishna? A devotee, because devotees know religious principles and they practice them and they can teach by their example. So somebody like Duryodhana is never going to represent Krishna. So, in a subtle way, Krishna is giving that message to fight, because Yudhisthira has to be king, because the king is my representative of man. I am the monarch. Okay, text 28. Ayudanam aham vajram, denunam asmi kamaduk, prajanas chashmi kandarpa, sarpanam asmi vasuki. Okay, I can read. Oh, of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents, I am Vasuki. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the surabhi cows. Kandarpa is another name for Cupid, is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna. But sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. So, yeah. It's interesting because we were just hearing about the churning of the ocean of milk and how Vasuki was used as the rope. And now Krishna is saying, of serpents, I am Vasuki. So Vasuki is the best of serpents. And yeah.
Krishna was also on the bottom of the mountain.
Oh yeah, Kurma.
Kurma.
Yeah. Yeah, he appeared because the mountain, they were churning and the mountain was slipping. It was like sinking. It was sinking down to the ocean. Because you're turning it, it was kind of like drilling down into the ground below the ocean. It needed some base to rest on. So then Kurma is a turtle incarnation of the Lord, and he came and his shell became the base. And then it said that Kurma had an itch on his back that needed to be scratched. So he went there to get his back scratched by the churning. It's like, keep churning, guys, keep churning. To the left, a little to the
Happy
right.
journey.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And he was, yeah. And also Lord Vishnu was also present in another form as Ajit, by the name Ajit. And that's the one that cut off the head of Rahu. So Lord Vishnu was, yeah, Lord was present in so many ways. That was a very special situation. Lord was present personally and different expansions, different incarnations, and also through his representations like Vasuki and Airavata. All right, Krishna Kritika, would you like to say something?
Oh, me? No.
Okay, I thought I saw your box flashed, so I thought you were about
Oh,
to say something.
no.
Okay. All right. And then we were hearing about how Indra is the best of the demigods, and the thunderbolt is his weapon. So he's the best demigod, and his weapon is the most powerful weapon. Apart from Krishna's weapon, right? Siddha Chakra, but weapons in this universe. And then when Krishna mentions cows, he talks about the Surabhi cows. So actually, Prabhupada says that there is no Surabhi cow here, but when Krishna comes, his cows come. And also, the father of Parashuram, Jamadagni, he had a Surabhi cow. Yeah, because his pastime is there was this king, his name was Kartavirya Arjun, and he went to pay a visit to Jamadagni because the kings would go and visit the sages. So this Kartavirya Arjun, he goes to visit Jamadagni, and Jamadagni's just living with his wife in a simple little thatched hut in the forest. You know, he doesn't have a job. He's just basically eating fruits and roots and nuts and berries and whatever, leaves and things that are attainable just by foraging in the forest. And but when and he's happy eating that because he's a Brahmin, simple living, high thinking, he's peaceful. But then Kartavirya Arjun comes and he's a king. So kings aren't just going to eat like a plate full of roots and berries, you know, they want a feast because that's what they're used to. So when Kartavirya Arjun comes, then Jamadagni, he serves him this epic feast, you know, like so many different preparations and all very well prepared and delicious and opulent. And the variety was like, wow. So Kartavirya Arjun was very impressed and he looked around and he's like, Jamadagni, where did you get these things? Like, how did you come? Why did you acquire all these ingredients and the cooking and everything? And so Jamadagni told him that his secret, that he has a Surabhi cow. He has this cow. And so the Surabhi cows, Prabhupada says they can be milked at any time and they give as much milk as one likes, but they don't just give milk, they'll give whatever you want. So if you want if you want gulab jamun, they give you gulab jamun. If you want palak paneer, they give you palak paneer. Whatever you want. If you want kachoris, they give you kachoris. So how that works, I'm not sure, but these cows can fulfill all your desires. And so he showed him the cow, and then Kartavirya Arjun, because he was a king, but he wasn't a very pious king. He was a demoniac king. So as soon as he saw that cow, he wanted to have it. He said, "Oh, how dare some citizen have something better than what the king has? The king, everything good in the kingdom should be offered to the king, and this sage is just he's just greedily coveting and just keeping this cow for himself." So then he basically he just seized the cow, he like took a rope and tied up the cow and dragged the cow away from the hermitage and took the cow back to his palace. So then Parashuram came home after being out and about, and his father was very Brahminical, very, always taking shelter of Krishna. It's like, Krishna's controlling everything, everything happens, it's Krishna's mercy, fine, whatever. If someone wants to take my cow, I just take it as Krishna making a special arrangement for my spiritual advancement. So, but because he was a Brahmin. But Parashuram was not a Brahmin. He was born of a Brahmin father, but he had the nature of a Kshatriya, and very, very like vicious Kshatriya nature. So when he saw that when he saw that the cow was missing, he said, "Father, what happened to our Surabhi cow?" And he said, "Oh, this Kartavirya Arjun came for lunch and he liked the lunch so much that he took the cow." And he said, "No, what is that? You can't steal from a Brahmin." So he got really angry. He thought that this is irreligious and the king cannot be cannot be like, setting an example of irreligiosity in the kingdom. It's going to make everybody will follow his example, and he needs to be punished. He needs to be taught a lesson. So then Parashuram became so angry, he went and he killed Kartavirya Arjun, and he killed like generations and generations, 21 generations of Kshatriyas, because he saw that all these Kshatriyas had become corrupt, and they were thinking that they were better than the Brahmins, and they were doing all kinds of nonsense, just because of misusing their power, to just steal and pillage and just do all kinds of materialistic, nefarious activities. So, so then the cow was returned back to Jamadagni. Long story short. But anyways, I'm telling this story just to show that, because Arjuna's question to Krishna, which is why Krishna is talking about these opulences, is he wants to know how can common people remember you and think of you in this world? So everything that Krishna is speaking about here has to exist somewhere in the material universe. right? And we can see that, banyan trees and demigods and Himalayas and, the mind, the ocean, Mount Meru, all these things are in the material universe. So Surabhi cows are also here. They may be very rare, a very rare exception, not to be commonly found, but there are a few of them around. Okay. Oh, and then Kandarpa, Cupid, the god of love. So he says that of causes for procreation. So procreation means having children. And he says that out of all the different causes for having children, that love is the best cause. So when the couple are in love with when there's actual love between the couple, and then they get together and conceive a child, then Krishna says, I am that. And that echoes what he said previously, that he says that in chapter 7, he says, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. So Krishna doesn't say that, he doesn't condone illicit sex between unmarried people or even between married people for the sake of just their own enjoyment. But when sex is used, for producing children by a properly married couple, very intentionally, then Krishna says that, and with love, then Krishna says that is a representation of himself, because it's a very powerful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. Okay, text 29. Anantaschashmi naganam varuno yadasam aham pitrinam aryamachashmi yama samyamatam aham. Go ahead.
Of the many-hooded Nagas, I am the Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varun. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death. Among the many-hooded Nag serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varun among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pitas, ancestors presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. After that, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them.
Okay, yeah. So there are kind of snakes, kind of serpents that exist in the universe, not on this planet, but in other planets, mainly in the lower planet, subterranean heavenly planets, who have many heads and many hoods, and they're called Nagas. There's a planet that's called Nagaloka that's full of these Nagas, many-headed snakes. So you don't want to go there. It's a little bit of a scary place. But out of all there's one incarnation of the Lord when he appears in the form of a many-headed snake, and that is Anantashesh. And he actually, he lives at the very bottom of the universe, and he holds up the whole universe on his head, on his hood, his main hood, I guess. So that's Anantashesh. He's the best, most powerful of all the Nagas. And then aquatics means all the living entities that live in the sea. And so, or live in water. And so Varuna is a demigod of the water, and he also lives under the water. He has a watery kingdom. It's a kingdom underwater where he lives. He has his throne. And we can hear about that in the Srimad Bhagavatam pastime, where one time Nanda Maharaj, he goes to the Yamuna to take his morning bath, but he goes too early. This is all Krishna's arrangement, but there's certain times where you can take bath, where it's auspicious, and there's certain times where you're not supposed to take bath.
Yeah.
So he went too early. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and it was in the time that was out of bounds for bathing. And so he got arrested by the servants of Varuna, and he got taken down and down into so through the river. The way that things work is there are these subtle channels in any body of water that you can enter into a river in one place, and you can end up in any other river or any body of water anywhere on the planet. So he, through the Yamuna, he was pulled down into the bottom of the ocean. And there in the bottom of the ocean, he was taken before Varuna. And then Varuna immediately recognized Nanda Maharaj as the father of Krishna. And he said, "What have you done? You know, my servants, you've committed a great offense. You've caused some inconvenience for Krishna's beloved father." And then, and they were like, "Oh no, what should we do now?" And then Varuna said, "Anyways, don't worry. Actually, you've done me a great favor because I know that Krishna is going to come rescue his father, and we're all going to get a darshan of Krishna. He never, otherwise he's never going to come here. What's Krishna have to do in the bottom of the ocean?" So they gave Nanda Maharaj a comfortable place, and they, were glorifying him and speaking about Krishna, and because Varuna is a demigod, right? So Nanda Maharaj was having a good time there, very, very comfortably situated in the bottom of the ocean. I guess he got some benediction that he's able to like breathe underwater or something for the time being. And then when everybody woke up, they saw, "Where's Nanda Maharaj?" And then Krishna said, "Oh, something must have happened when he went to take his bath. Let's go and see." So he went there, and then he said, they couldn't find him anywhere. He said, "I'm going to find him." So Krishna went to the Yamuna, and he went down. And then he went there, and Varuna paid his obeisances to him, and Krishna said that, "I understand that you wanted to see me, but this was not a good thing to do. And give me Nanda Maharaj, and I'm getting out of here." So then he left, and Nanda Maharaj. So that was Varuna, the demigod of all the aquatics. And then departed ancestors. There's Aryama, and the dispensers of law, Yamaraj. Yeah, so Yamaraj is a great personality who's empowered to judge. He's the judge, right? Like in Christianity, when you hear that you're going to get judged at the time of death, and you're going to be standing in front of the gates, right? Whether you're going to go to heaven or hell or something. Of course, in the Vedic system, it's not that simple. It's not just heaven or hell. There's many destinations you could potentially go to, but there is a judgment day for mainly for sinful people. See, Yamaraj, he takes care of the sinful people. So anybody who's not a religious person and not a devotee, then they go to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj decides on which kind of punishment they're going to get, basically. So it says dispensers of law. So only people who are criminals have to deal with dispensers of law, right? If you don't, if you never commit a crime, you never have to deal with law enforcement officers, right? You just see them and you say, "Good morning, sir," and keep walking. You don't have to, you don't have to deal with them. You don't have to be confronted by them. So out of all the dispensers of law, out of all the officers of law enforcement, Yamaraj is the Lord of Death, that he, if you've broken the laws of God during your life, then you have to be face to face with Yamaraj at the time of death, and he'll tell you all the things that you did wrong, and he'll tell you what your punishment is. So like that. And so he's a representative of Krishna. He's doing the service of Krishna. Because if people don't get punished for things that they do wrong, then they don't learn their lesson, right? Like if you just let people get away with it, they'll keep pushing the boundaries further and further, and they'll just become worse and worse. Especially you see that like with children, right? That they're always trying to push their boundaries and see what they can get away with. But as soon as you draw the line and you're just like, "No," or you do that, you're getting punished. Then they start behaving properly. Okay, text 30. Praladaschashmi daityanam kala kala yatam aham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainateyascha pakshinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Pralad. Among subduers, I am time. Among beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda. Purport. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called the Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. So, we already heard about the Adityas back in text 21, where Krishna says, of Adityas, the sons of Aditi, I am Vishnu. Like Vamanadev is the incarnation of Vishnu, who took birth from Aditi and Kashyapa. And then the children of Diti are the demons, the atheists. But so Prahlad was born in that family, but he is a devotee. So Krishna doesn't say that Krishna is never represented by a demon, right? You don't see in this list of things, you don't see anything demoniac or ugly or bad, it's all like good things. So even in the category of demons who are not good people, the one representing Krishna is the one who's actually not a demon. He's his father. He took birth in a demoniac dynasty, but he was actually a saint. So that's Prahlad. And we can read all about him in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then time is the force which destroys everything. In due course of time, everything comes to an end. So he says of subduers. Let's say, which word does he use here? Kalayatam. Yeah, Kalayatam. Subduers, he is time. And then, the lion is the king of the jungle. Even that is known, right? Everybody says the lion is the king of the jungle. So just like the king is the representative of Krishna among humans, so the lion, being the king of the jungle, is the representative of Krishna among all the jungle animals. And then birds, he's Garuda. So Garuda is all the different incarnations have their carriers, right? They come riding on the back of some carrier. So, Lord Shiva is on a bull, and Ganga Devi's on a crocodile. Goddess Durga is on a tiger, and Ganesh is on a mouse. And Lord Vishnu is on this giant eagle named Garuda. And Garuda is the best of birds. It's like the Lord's taxi service. Okay, text 31. Pavana pavatam asmi, Rama Shastra Bitam aham, Jashanam Makarash Chashmi, Shotasam Asmi Janavi. Go ahead.
Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wilders, of weapons I am Ram, of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the Gangas. Of all aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna.
The word here for shark is actually Makara. So we hear that Krishna has a Makara Kundali, shark-shaped earrings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually the Makara is, it's not exactly a shark. It's some species that's a little bit different from a shark. But it's the closest thing that we have to it is the shark. Anyway, so that's how it's translated here. And purifiers, I'm the wind. So you see that, if there's some bad smell or some contamination in a place, but if you open up the windows and let the fresh air flow through, then it refreshes everything, purifies the atmosphere. Wielders of weapons, Ram, that's Lord Ramachandra, and he's famous for his weapon, the bow. He's the famous as the transcendental bowman, incarnation of Krishna. And then of all the rivers, it's the Ganga, the Ganges River, that is also very sacred and purifying, that actually comes down from the spiritual world. It's the water of the Ganges is not like regular water. It's water that comes from the spiritual realm. That when Vamanadev extends his foot, he takes 3 steps of land. So with the first foot, he covers the whole earth. And then with the second foot, he covers the whole universe, to the extent that his toe pokes through the universal shell covering and pokes a hole in the covering of the universe. And then the water of what's it called? The Vaitarani River comes. That's the water that separates the material and spiritual world. It comes flowing through. And because because Lord Vamana's foot is there, then the water washes the foot of the Lord on the way down. And so it's doubly sanctified. One, because it comes from the spiritual world. Two, because it washed the Lord's lotus foot. And then, of course, three, because it lands on the head of Lord Shiva. And four, because it travels all throughout the higher planets. By the time it comes to Earth, it's very, very sanctified and pure. I mean, it was already, but it gets like extra surcharged on the way down. And yeah, so the Ganges is very pure. And therefore it is Krishna, the river that represents Krishna. All right, so we're going to stop here. And this was actually Pragati's idea to take reflections at the end of the class. So any reflections on these verses and purports and explanations that we heard today? Yes, what stood out to you, Pragati?
Yeah. So with the pastime they explained of churning, I think I got so good and practical example of seeing Krishna in everywhere. Like when we were also talking, so I feel like in the demons, in the demigods, he says that I'm the Indra. So Indra was Krishna himself, and then the Rakshasas and uh, Yakshas, we heard that there was Krishna. The Meru is Krishna, and the Vasuki is Krishna, and Mohini is so the one person who is taking out the nectar is Krishna, from whom the ocean, that is Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna is distributing. So everywhere it's Krishna, and it's so beautiful to just look. Okay, now this is the practical example of looking how Krishna is everywhere. So I really liked all these verses.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea
And
is
Krishna
that,
is Krishna.
yeah,
So bringing
he's
the
mentioned,
forest,
right? Yeah.
everything is.
Yeah, the whole idea of saying all these things is to help us common people understand that Krishna's everywhere. He's in everything, right? And he's especially the best of everything, but he's also everything is his energies. Okay. Any thoughts, Kritika or Alia? Alia, I met in Gainesville when we were visiting there. She came to Taco Tuesday, and then we were sitting at the table together and just talking. And yeah, she asked if there were any classes that she could tune into. I said, yeah, come to the Zoom class we do. Bhagavad Gita reading.
Yes. Um, yeah, appreciate it. I'm amazed about all the information and all the how to see how, like, I agree with what what's the name of the other student?
Pragati?
Sorry. Yeah, that I agree about that, because now I can see more, in a practical way. Imagine, like, I was in my mind, like, creating a movie with everything that you were saying, and it's amazing how to see now Krishna more represented on, yeah, in everywhere, in everything. But also I appreciate that what you said about the best, or the principal service, devotional service about the yapa, because I'm looking also, the practicality in my day life and how to, increase my relationship with Krishna. And thank you for clarify that. And I want, learn more about other kind of things that I can do every day, every time as possible, and in my mind, or, but with the japa, I think that was something that very, very important to me. So thank you.
Yeah, japa is very important. And yeah, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, also Lord Chaitanya says that he says there are 9 processes of devotional service. He says hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, worshiping the deity form of the Lord, being his servant, being his friend, offering everything, etc. Like that. 9 processes, praying, so on. And but he says, but out of all the 9 processes, the most important process, the best process, the most powerful process is chanting the holy names. And japa is very important and very practical because we can do it anywhere, at any time. We don't need any accompaniment. We don't need someone to do it with us. We don't need musical instruments. We don't need to be talented. We don't need to have a nice voice. We just can just anytime just sit down and or stand up or drive a car, whatever we're doing, and just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And it's so purifying. And the other nice thing about japa is that it's just it's an individual way of serving Krishna. It's just you, right? You're not doing it with anyone else. You can maybe sitting with others who are also chanting japa, but you're not interacting with them. Like in kirtan, you're interacting. Like someone's singing and you're singing in response to them. Someone's playing mridanga and you're playing kartals, and when the lead singer sings faster, you play faster. So it's interactive. Whereas japa, you may be with other devotees chanting japa, but you're not interacting. It's your alone time with Krishna. It's your time when it's very intimate, sweet, personal, private time with you and Krishna. And you're just invoking Krishna's presence by chanting the holy names. He says, I am that chanting. So he's present in the chanting. And it's a way that we can be with Krishna, at any time, wherever you are. Even if you're just waiting in the line at the supermarket checkout, you can just start chanting softly, or even chanting in your mind. If people are going to think you're strange, mumbling something, you can chant in your mind, and that's japa. So, very good. Yeah. And generally we chant on the beads, right? You've probably seen the beads. We have these wooden beads, like I have my beads right here. Beads, or this string of 108 japa beads. And you chant one mantra on each bead, and then finish the mantra, go to the next bead, chant another mantra. And that way you go around the whole 108 beads on the string of beads, and that's called one round. And then for devotees who are initiated, who've, very serious and taken initiation in ISKCON, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, then the vow that they take is to chant 16 rounds. So it's 16 times 108 mantras every day, which takes about 2 hours, but it's very, very nice meditation, very purifying and transformative. And there's nothing that brings one closer to Krishna better than that. And then, as we advance in Krishna consciousness, then that japa becomes more and more sweet and personal. So, very good. All right, I think we'll stop there. Tomorrow I'm going to be traveling, so I think we won't have class tomorrow. I'll be on a plane at this time. And next day also I have an event that I'm going to, but and then Sunday and Monday we don't have class. So let's resume on Tuesday. Okay? We'll pick it up on Tuesday. Okie doke. Thank you all for coming. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, go.